Kaine, let's get into the, your Spider-Man origins. Where you from and the whole emceeing history, like what got you into hip hop in the beginnings?
All right. Yeah, I was born and raised in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. Music all through the crib since I was born. My mom said when I was in her stomach, she couldn't stop listening to Public Enemy. So that was,
Oh
before I
man.
came to the world. So after that, Pops was just crazy on Wu-Tang and yeah, Pops a 5%er, by the way. You know what I mean? Mom's a Christian, peace to the God, do my Allah, and can you imagine, my upbringing with a
Hmm.
Christian mother and a 5% father?
That's
But
definitely different. Yeah.
yeah, I actually talk about it in my upcoming project. That's something I really held back talking about that. It was
Hmm.
real crazy for me growing up, you know what I'm saying? Because,
Right, right.
Sundays, she had me there. During the week, Pops was giving me lessons.
Mm.
Nobody really had no consideration for what do you want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Ah,
So,
right,
but
right.
that's a whole nother story. But yeah, and that's how I was growing up. My sister was listening to nothing but Brandy and R&B and stuff. I had an older brother that was listening to nothing but Capone and Noriega and everything. He was into like QB for some reason a lot, and
Hmm.
Mom Dukes was listening to Al Green, Anita Baker, and all of that. So
Man, the
when I
music sounds
yeah,
real
when I
good
went
in your
from room to
house.
room,
Yeah.
I went from room to room in my crib, and it was always music. So I was
Mm.
just always influenced by music since I was young. When my brother used to come home from college, he had these two CD books that I never forget about. I used to grab the CD books. You won't hear from me for hours. I'm listening to different CDs,
Mm.
and you know what I'm saying. So that was basically my upbringing.
That's
Just
what's up. And
always in
every
music.
time we look at individuals that have grown up with such a diversity of music, though, they can hold different melodies, they can hold different structure, and they
Mhm.
understand it better.
Mhm.
And it makes more sense when we listen to Ruku and the other projects you've been on. You
Right.
know, but like listening to all this music, when did you like try to get? Were you always like, okay, I'll try to write my rhymes even as a little kid, or like when did it start where you was trying to
Yeah.
actually MC?
I was running behind my older brother, and he was emceeing at
Mm.
one point, but he was more into basketball. But when he did go to the studio and stuff, he would have to take me. It's like my mom, you can't go nowhere unless you take Eddie. So I was there, and I was just soaking game up, and then
Mm.
I was probably about think 7 or 8, and they was like, "Yo, you want to go in the booth?" And I went in there and I just said a whole bunch of dumb shit. You know what I mean? Part my language. I just said a whole bunch of dumb
Indeed,
things,
indeed.
and they recorded it, and after that I was kind of addicted. I was just recording my own, remember putting the spitballs into the cassette
Oh yeah,
tapes
yeah,
and
yeah,
recording
yeah.
over the cassette. I was doing all of that myself, and when my brother was coming home from college, I was giving him a little loose leaf paper track list and letting him hear my tapes and stuff. So I was
Loose.
always into it,
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah,
yeah, I
so
knew
you're
what I
making
wanted to
like your own
do.
pause tapes with the cassettes and everything. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to detail it for
young
the
boy.
millennials and stuff. I used to use
Hmm.
tape though. I was bougie. I used to put
Yeah.
tape on it
Oh man, yeah,
with
you was
Scotch tape
good.
on it.
You
Yeah,
was
yeah,
good.
yeah. This
Yeah.
was Scotch tape on it. Yeah. But yeah, when was the time where you started to write the rhymes you were doing though where you were getting the feedback where you're like, yo, I could really do this.
Well, that was 16 years old. That was
So it
like,
took a while. So you were doing this for a while.
yeah, since third grade, I was doing pep rallies
Cause
and talent
to
shows,
me
man.
it's I notice it's a difference the recorded version of something, even if it's just on like a little
Mhm.
pause tape
Mhm.
cassette,
Mhm.
then the kid that's just writing rhymes and
Right.
just rapping them on point.
Right.
But a lot of MCs, their experience is different when they get to try the booth,
Yeah. Right.
even
Right.
if they get kicked out the booth, even if they're
Mhm.
just terrible or something
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
It just
Yeah, I've been
sets them up
recording for
where
years.
it becomes a
Yeah.
real possibility.
Right. Right. I've been recording for a long time, and I put out my first mixtape at 18 years old, and I really didn't have no direction with how to shop music, or you know what I mean. So I learned all of this stuff on my own, just
Hmm.
trial and error. So,
Right, right, right. And this is about the 2000s, right?
yeah, yeah. Probably about 2002, 2003 is when I first started, cutting school, going to record music and stuff.
Mm.
You
Did
know.
you ever try to take it to labels and things like that?
When the whole MySpace and internet thing started going
Mm.
crazy, I was searching up labels, and my mom still got it in one of my rap books in the house. I had a whole page of all of these numbers and stuff, and I would call, but it was ping pong. They was just sending me a bunch of different places. But
Right,
you know,
right,
I didn't
right.
really know what I was doing in at that time.
Yeah, understood, understood.
Well,
Yeah, you know, it was real. It's a, you know, I think of something. I just throw it out there because it's something that goes exactly in line with what I've always been saying about what I call the dark ages, because there was no way to collect new talent because they stopped really taking a chance on talent that really took effort. So you lost the ability of an prospective A&Rs or scouts and stuff. You know, they weren't really out there, and they weren't really listening to music very well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sounds weird now because there's so much overload in the internet. But in the 2000s, pressing up your own CDs on your own started a new overload. So that led labels to say, we're not going to deal with all that." You know what I mean? In 2005, when I was at the Source, there was a room that nobody went into, and I was like, "Yo, why can't that be in my office?" You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to be in a cubicle. And I went in there, and there was no room in there. It was garbage bags, like, filled with CDs, and that was where they was getting the unsigned hype. And so you're thinking, like, there's no way you could find somebody. You know that there's good stuff in there. It's just like literally garbage bags that were my height. So it's like, it was ridiculous. So it was like a lot of guys had no chance, you know,
Right,
because you're just
yeah.
not going to sift through all that. So even if you would have sent it to them, they may not have even ever like dumped it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And couple that with the lack of like their, you know, their actual earbuds not really being strong enough anyway. They
Right.
already like whack stuff. So all those things went out and played. But when I built with Rome Streets in the last interview I did with him, he was kind of saying to the effect that the reason you see MCs like yourself and himself so seasoned in their what is quote unquote their debut is because in those 2010s where like a lot of times labels would have found a guy hustling out there and just listened to him. And they didn't, so they were just honing their craft on their own. And then all of a sudden now, you know, we have the ability to record on our own and send things out on Bandcamp and all of that. Now it's like, how is this guy starting off so refined? You know?
Right.
And that's what, you know, he was saying, because if you look through, you know, guys like with your debut, Spoda, Rome Street's catalog in the very beginning, like the first Noise Candies, I mean, those are very elevated,
Right.
you know, they're very elevated. Then they don't have, usually when you hear a demo, it's literally like what you think, what they used to be. You'd hear the first couple of songs were good, and then you see a real tail off. You know, that's what you would always hear. You wouldn't hear like 4 or 5 songs that were strong, you know? So it was like real projects that people were making.
Right.
But I say that to say this, though. With that gap between Aruku, this debut album we're going to really go into, and that first mixtape, what all happened during those years?
A lot of crazy things, man. Family drama, street drama. If you listen to the projects, it's like I'm not fabricating anything. You know, certain songs, certain concepts is a little, you know, but I was like literally just giving you the rundown of what I was going through at that moment. So it's like if you go to datpiff.com or something and listen to all my mixtapes from the first to what Aruku is, the album, you kind of hear everything I was going through. I rapped about beefs that I got into in the streets. I rapped about issues with the family. I rapped about all of that. I'm kind of like an introvert. Like, I don't really talk much. You know what I'm saying? So I vent through my music, you know, and it always been that way since I was a young boy. You know, I'm the baby, so it was like every time I used to try to talk in the house, I would get cut off, or it was, nah, it ain't that. So I go sit, write, listen to music, and you know, that's how I express myself.